churches, what the Chinese government refers to as unregistered churches. Her participation put her at risk. Owning a Bible put her at risk. Talking about attending church in front of her boss put her at risk. Imagine her shock if she were to discover that not only do most American Christians not read the Bible, in most churches there is a closet full of Bibles that have been left behind. I don't remember how I responded. I said something entirely forgettable, but I haven't forgotten her question. It's bothered me ever since. Her question is one of the reasons I've written this book. So, why doesn't everybody in America go to church? Why is the church so resistible? Jesus wasn't. Once upon a time, his church wasn't either. Chapter 1. The New Standard American Version. Much of what makes American Christianity so resistible to those outside the faith are things that we should have been resisting all along. While many of us have been working hard to make the church more interesting, it turns out that fewer people are actually interested. And while people outside the church continue to have a favorable view of Jesus, they don't necessarily have a favorable view of his body, the church. And that's a problem. It would be like me saying, I like you, I just don't want to be around your body. Now, the decline of Christianity in America, the popularity of the new atheist, and the meteoric rise of the nuns underscore something that's been true for generations, but didn't matter much until now. And that's this: modern, mainstream evangelical Christianity is fatally flawed. And these flaws make it fragile and indefensible in the public square. The populist version of cultural Christianity we see today is anchored in two assumptions that create a straw man version of our faith. And sadly, the straw man passes for actual faith in many evangelical churches. This version of Christianity is anti-intellectual, it's overly simplistic, and it's easily discredited. For decades, college professors with a bias against religion have found Christian freshmen easy targets. I've talked to, listened to, and read interviews, blogs, and books by dozens of people who've left the Christian faith. And yet I've never heard a story from anyone who abandoned Christianity based on anything directly related to Christianity, at least the original version anyway. I recently read a blog by a former worship leader who left the faith after she read a book proving contradictions in the Bible. Apparently, she grew up believing that the foundation of our faith is a non-contradicting book. It's not. A renowned New Testament scholar recently acknowledged that he had abandoned faith and embraced atheism. Why? Because of suffering in the world. But the foundation of our faith is not a world without suffering. Pain and suffering don't disprove the existence of God. It only disproves the existence of a God who doesn't allow pain and suffering. Whose God is that? Not ours. Ours promised it. People leave the faith because they had a bad church experience. Me too. So what? Quantum physics doesn't undermine the claims of Jesus. Neither does natural selection. Unverifiable Old Testament miracles don't cause our house of faith to come tumbling down, or it shouldn't anyway. Now, if something in the previous paragraph made you wince, I can't tell you how happy I am that you're listening to this book. Keep listening, and you'll be introduced to a better, more robust version of your faith. In all my years of ministry, I've only had one conversation with an unbeliever, a Jewish friend, who had an objection to Christianity based on anything to do with the claims of Jesus. Andy, he said, I just don't believe someone can pay for someone else's sins. I believe each of us is responsible for our own wrongdoing. I smiled and said, well, congratulations, you are standing on the threshold. That is the issue. Now, the way forward for the church is not complicated, though some might find it controversial. It's not original with me. In fact, it's hidden in plain sight in the Gospels and in the epistles of Paul. We know it works because it already worked. Once upon a time, members of a Jewish cult called the Way, against all odds, captured the attention and ultimately the dedication of the pagan world, both inside and outside the Roman Empire. So perhaps we need to hit pause on much of what we're doing today, which isn't working all that well anyway, and take notes from the men and women credited with turning the world upside down. What did first century Christians know that we don't? What made their faith so compelling, so resilient, and in the end, so irresistible? How did a religious cult birthed in the armpit of the empire, whose leader had been rejected by his own people and crucified as a wannabe king by Rome, survive in the face of this overwhelming resistance? And how is it that this same upstart religion